Have you ever noticed that the nicest people often get treated the worst? That's because kindness without boundaries looks like weakness. Say yes too often, and people start expecting it. Give too much, and they stop valuing it. The world doesn't respect those who are always available. It respects those who know their worth. All Stoics understood this truth. Respect isn't given, it's commanded. And in this video, we dive deep into the psychology of kindness, why excessive generosity leads to disrespect, and how Stoic wisdom can help you balance kindness with strength. Watch till the end to learn how to command respect without losing your good heart. Let's get into it. Number 1. The psychology of overgiving. People look up to those who have earned their respect. In the event that you give excessively without anticipating receiving anything in return, you are conveying an unconscious message that your time and work are not valuable. It was originally written by Marcus Aurelius in his book Meditations that a man's worth is no greater than his ambitions. In terms of our interactions with other people, this is a statement that is not just straightforward but also immensely significant. If you do not have any goals or limits in place regarding your time and energy, how can you possibly expect other people to recognize the worth that you possess? Within this context, generosity has the potential to rapidly morph into an expectation, and once compassion is anticipated, respect begins to wane. The issue with excessive generosity is not simply that individuals lose the ability to appreciate it. Rather, it is that they begin to take it for granted by doing so. Consider the possibility that you are the person who is always willing to assist, give an ear, or go out of your way to make the life of another person simpler. First, people show their appreciation by expressing gratitude and thanking you. They may even express thankfulness. On the other hand, as time passes, they begin to believe that you will always be present. The efforts that you put out are no longer seen as a favor by them. Rather, they are seen as something that you merely carry out. Because they are merely anticipating that you would express gratitude to them, they do not feel the need to do so as regularly. The difficulty is that what was previously considered to be a given is no longer respected. This is where the problem begins. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, would remind us that self-respect is the root of all respect that is shown to others. When you fail to establish boundaries and do not place value on your own time and energy, it is inevitable that others will do the same. Your time and effort will be taken for granted, and they will take more than they should, leaving you feeling exhausted and unappreciated. They will assume that your time and effort are inexpensive. According to what he previously wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you are feeling unappreciated or overworked, and your thoughts are filled with resentment because of it, it is not the fault of the people around you. Rather, it is the result of your own failure to set boundaries. The truth is that people test the limits of what they are capable of taking without ever realizing it. They are going to continue to take from you if you never say no and if you constantly give. In addition, every time you do not decline an offer, you are reinforcing the notion that your time, energy, and kindness are boundless supplies. If you want to say no but are afraid of being rejected or failing other people, you could experience feelings of guilt. On the other hand, if you consistently contribute without taking into account your own requirements, it conveys the message that you do not respect yourself sufficiently to set strict boundaries for yourself. Because of this, boundaries are quite important. Everyone else will not value your time if you do not value it yourself. You are able to encourage others to do the same by establishing distinct limits and showing respect for your own requirements. It may be unsettling at first, particularly if you are accustomed to giving more than you are expected to, but it is an essential step in making sure that your generosity is acknowledged and appreciated. You do not have to agree to every request that is made of you. Even more crucial, you shouldn't feel guilty about declining an offer when you say no to it. The Stoic philosophy tells us that virtue is not derived from continuously trying to please other people, but rather from living in accordance with reason. Marcus Aurelius had a deep comprehension of this. As opposed to wasting time trying to get the approval of other people, he concentrated on upholding his own dignity and behaving in a manner that was congruent with his principles. According to what he wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others unless it is for some mutual benefit. Giving without expecting anything in return is a waste of both your time and energy if it does not benefit you. You should not feel obligated to please or obtain acceptance in order to be kind. Rather, your kindness should originate from a place of strength and wisdom." The question now is, how can you stop giving too much and start earning the respect that you are due? The first step is to acknowledge that acts of kindness should be deliberate and selective rather than automatic. This does not mean that you are required to be accessible to everyone, nor does it mean that you owe everyone your time and effort. If you want to help, rather than because you feel you have to, you should do it. Make it a habit to say no without feeling guilty, and see how other people react when you do so. In the event that they respect you, they will comprehend. Should they fail to do so, it is possible that they have never fully appreciated you in the first place. Marcus Aurelius provided the following piece of advice: "Do not waste any more time arguing about what a good man ought to be. Become one. Put your ideals into action, establish your limits, and refrain from giving too much to the point that you neglect yourself. From the moment you begin to respect yourself, others will begin to do the same. In the end, it is not simply acts of kindness that garner respect. Rather, it is the wisdom to know when to give and when to safeguard your own well-being that is the most important factor." Number 2, the nice guy syndrome. It has come to your attention that the nicest persons are frequently the ones that receive the harshest treatment. This is due to the fact that excessive niceness is frequently interpreted as submission rather than strength. You run the risk of being viewed as someone who lacks a backbone if you consistently submit to the will of others, aiming to please people and avoiding disagreement at all costs. It is possible that this will result in a vicious cycle in which the more you make an effort to be polite, the more you will be took advantage of. There is a possibility that individuals will start to view you as someone they can manipulate, and rather than gaining their respect, you will simply wind up receiving their scorn. Throughout his letters, Seneca, the renowned Stoic philosopher, issued a warning about this matter. It was him who said, "A gift that costs nothing to the giver is worthless to the receiver." If I may put it another way, when you give too freely, when your generosity comes without any actual work or sacrifice, it loses its significance. People will begin to believe that you lack the strength to stand up for yourself if you are always pleasant, if you never confront other people, and if you always say yes to everything. And in a culture where self-assurance is revered, weakness is not cherished. Rather, it is exploited rather than admired. Take a moment to reflect on the following. Have you ever seen someone who is always the nice guy or nice girl, but they are frequently disregarded, belittled, or taken for granted? This occurs due to the fact that their generosity is not regarded as a virtue. Rather, it is regarded as a lack of personal limits. When individuals consistently give without expecting anything in return, These individuals lose the ability to appreciate the worth in what they are providing to others. In point of fact, the more you try to go above and beyond for other people, the less they will consider you to be on an equal footing. Although they may acknowledge and appreciate your generosity, they do not respect you. The way they see you, you are someone they can manipulate without fear of repercussions. In addition, Seneca emphasizes the significance of having respect for oneself. You are not showing respect for yourself if you are overly focused on pleasing other people and never make an effort to assert yourself for yourself. Instead, you are surrendering to the will of other people, and submission does not command respect. Rather, it invites abuse if it is not handled properly. When someone is too pleasant, always willing to accommodate others, and never stands their position, others do not consider them to be someone with authority. Rather, they consider them to be someone they can exert power over without question. When viewed from this perspective, being excessively kind can truly be a negative. It is possible that people will perceive you as agreeable, but they will not perceive you as powerful, capable, or self-assured. To put it another way, they might even consider you to be needy for acceptance. And the more you seek acceptance, the more people perceive you as someone who lacks the strength of conviction. And when you lack conviction, it is impossible to acquire genuine respect. In Seneca's teachings, we learn that true strength is not derived from submission, but rather from self-mastery. It is not that we have a short time to live. Rather, it is that we waste a lot of it. What he stated was the point. If you spend your entire life trying to please other people by being overly pleasant to them, you are squandering both your time and your energy. You are not living in accordance with your ideals or values. Rather, you are only attempting to avoid controversy at the risk of your own integrity. People who lack the strength to stand firm in their ideas and actions are not respected, and this ultimately robs you of respect, because respect is not given to people who lack the strength to do so. It's possible that you're asking yourself, but isn't kindness a virtue? In a word, yes. Stoicism does not teach us to be impolite or unkind. Rather, it teaches us that friendliness ought to be founded on strength, and not on the need to fulfill the expectations of other people. Seneca was a man of incredible kindness, but he was also a man of unwavering values. He was a man of unparalleled integrity. He did not allow other people to walk all over him, and he did not compromise his integrity in order to get the acceptance of other people at any cost. Just because you are really kind does not mean that you must constantly say yes, or that you must always put yourself second. In other words, it is making the decision to behave with integrity, intelligence, and courage, even when doing so is uncomfortable. It is imperative that you refrain from using your gestures of generosity as a means to gain acceptance if you wish to acquire genuine respect. You should instead make use of it as a tool to make other people feel better about themselves without sacrificing your own sense of self-respect. It is important to keep in mind that the people who are most respected are not the ones who are always trying to get approval by being overly pleasant. Those individuals are the ones who are aware of their own value, who are unwavering in their convictions, and who extend their generosity from a position of power rather than out of submission. In the future, when you find yourself inclined to be extremely accommodating or excessively polite, you should ask yourself the following question: am I doing this because I genuinely want to assist others, or am I doing this to escape discomfort or to seek approval? When kindness is accompanied by self-respect and strength, only then will it be considered truly valuable behavior. Number 3. People will test your boundaries, and most will fail the test. People will begin to test you as soon as they understand that you do not show resistance. Gradually, one would say. Your boss asks you to stay late, despite the fact that he is already aware of the amount of work you have to do. One of your friends is constantly cancelling arrangements at the last minute, assuring themselves that you will always respond with no problem. The request for another favor is made by a member of the family, despite the fact that they have never reciprocated the favor or demonstrated any genuine appreciation. Initially, these requests appear to be quite insignificant. They don't appear to be a major concern at all. It's possible that you believe that offering assistance or responding with a yes can't possibly be harmful. When you give in to these requests without establishing clear limits, you are inadvertently conveying to other people that your time, your requirements, and your energy are not significant. This is the problem. You are conveying the idea that you are willing to offer at any time, that you are always available, and that your own limits are open to negotiation. It is a fact, however, that when you do not put up a fight, people begin to anticipate that you will. The issue starts with that expectation, which is where the difficulty lies. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, made the following astute observation. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus was bringing out a fundamental truth about boundaries, which may sound harsh at first, but let me explain. When you begin to assert your boundaries, people will condemn you. It is possible that they will label you as unreasonable or selfish. It is even possible that they will remark that you are being tough or demanding, or that you are behaving in a manner that is not consistent with who you are. Establishing limits will feel like a significant change to you if you have spent years being the easygoing person who always says yes. Moreover, those individuals who have relied on your compliance will become aware of this change and will most likely rebel against it. On the other hand, the most important thing to realize is that this judgment is not your burden. When you start to establish limits, you will in fact lose people, and this is something that you should be happy about. Why is it a positive thing to do? Mostly due to the fact that those individuals did not actually value you, but rather how much they could get out of you. Someone is not showing you respect if they only remain in your presence because they are aware that they can take advantage of your time, your efforts, and your generosity without ever asking for anything in return. Both knowingly and unconsciously, they were taking advantage of you. You can think of these individuals as those who are not concerned with your requirements. They view you as an unending resource that can be utilized for their own benefit. In addition, when you establish limits, the authentic sentiments that they have for you are brought to the surface. It is possible to design a sorting process by establishing boundaries. Your boundaries are about preserving balance and respecting yourself, and others that appreciate you will realize that. The fact that you have chosen to conserve your time and energy will be greatly appreciated by them. Self-respect is not the same thing as selfishness, and those who truly care about you will realize this distinction. Not only will they acknowledge that you are still capable of being loving, kind, and generous, but they will do it only when it does not compromise your sense of self-worth. Having said that, the moment you start imposing these boundaries, you will notice that some individuals will attempt to test you. They will make an effort to test the limits of those limitations in order to determine how much they can get away with. If you have already declined a favor from a friend, it is possible that they are asking for one more favor from you. When you have already worked late for the past 2 evenings, it is possible that your manager is asking you to remain an additional hour from your regular schedule. There is a possibility that they will attempt to intimidate you by accusing you of being difficult, ungrateful, or even selfish. Nevertheless, this is not your test. It is theirs. In order to determine how seriously you take the matter of safeguarding your boundaries, they are conducting a test. They want to see whether they can wear you down once more and convince you to go back to your previous ways of complying with laws and regulations. On the other hand, here's the thing. Now is the time for you to establish authority. You are exhibiting something that is of the utmost significance, self-respect, when you do not give in, by demonstrating that you value your time, that you have limitations, and that you are willing to stand by them, even if it is uncomfortable. You are demonstrating that you are willing to stand by them. This might not be to everyone's liking. Indeed, it is possible that they will become agitated. In spite of this, the fact that you have chosen to safeguard your health is not an indication that you do not care about them. Rather, it is a manifestation of your dedication within yourself. It is precisely in this context that the splendor of Stoicism emerges. This is something that Epictetus taught, and it is not the opinions of other people that define you. If you are criticized by others for establishing limits, then you should let them. Instead of being your problem, it is theirs. Respected individuals will be able to adjust to your boundaries and comprehend the rationale behind their existence. It will not be regarded as a weakness by them, but rather as a sign of your power. They are going to value you more as a result of it. On the other hand, those individuals who are unable to acknowledge your limits, who work to undermine them, and who want to exert guilt on you, will eventually reveal their actual nature. It is possible that you will experience a sting of disappointment or loss as a result of their departure. Nevertheless, allow me to inform you that this is a gift. You are deliberately building space for people who will appreciate and respect you, people who will not take you for granted when you begin to set boundaries to regulate your behavior. The procedure is one that helps you remove the people who are simply in your life for their own profit, without contributing anything in return. It is a cleansing process. You will no longer be someone's doormat after you break the habit of saying yes to everyone. At this point, you cease to be someone who exists for the purpose of earning the approval of others. When you do this, you start to attract people who respect you for who you are, and who recognize the importance of the time, energy, and effort that you put out. You are no longer merely a resource. Rather, you are a genuine individual who possesses your own requirements, aspirations, and demands. It is important to remember that you should not become disheartened if you encounter opposition or if individuals are resisting the boundaries that you are establishing. Remain steadfast. If you have to decline, don't feel bad about it. Compliance is not the foundation upon which true respect is formed. Rather, it is based upon the establishment of clear boundaries, mutual respect, and the capacity to prioritize oneself without feeling guilty. Furthermore, those individuals who truly respect you will eventually comprehend and adjust to your situation. Those individuals who do not, as a result of their departure, space will be made available for others who will respect you and the boundaries you set for yourself instead. Number 4, the social hierarchy problem. There is a hierarchy of dominance that exists inside human interactions, regardless of whether we like it or not. Not only do people instinctively classify other people according to their physical power, but they also classify them according to their mental and emotional strength. People who exude confidence, resilience, and authority are frequently the ones that we find ourselves drawn to at times. The use of force is not always the deciding factor. Rather, it is the individuals who command respect and those who freely grant it. Additionally, in this hierarchy, you will find yourself at the bottom of the hierarchy if you are extremely accommodating and consistently give in to the requirements of others without establishing your own needs. How come? because you send the message that you are intellectually or emotionally weak when you allow other people to walk all over you, when you never push yourself or stand up for yourself. You are sending the message that you are weak. In essence, you are expressing the sentiment that I do not matter as much as you do. Furthermore, in a society in which respect is frequently acquired through one's strength, weakness is not admired. Rather, it is exploited. No, this is not merely a theory. It is the nature of humans. We live in a society where strength, both mental and emotional strength, is frequently the genuine measure of respect, despite the fact that we might like to believe that people reward kindness alone. This does not imply that you have to be confrontational or violent. However, it does mean that you have to demonstrate that you are not easily swayed and that you value yourself enough to establish limits. When you give too much, when you let other people determine how you spend your time and energy, you put yourself in a situation where you are susceptible to being directed by others. Even if they are nice, people who are easily manipulated are rarely recognized in the social order. This is true regardless of how polite they are. The reality of how human relationships frequently operate is that this may be a difficult thing to accept, but it is the truth nonetheless. Now let's take a look at the other side of the coin. When you refuse to be walked over or used by others on a regular basis, when you stand your ground, people begin to treat you differently. Suddenly, the value of your time increases. The respect that is accorded to your energy increases, and the weight that your opinions carry increases. Because you are someone who is aware of their value and is not afraid to demonstrate it, people take notice of the fact that you are a formidable opponent. It is possible that you will lose a few individuals along the way, specifically those who took advantage of your earlier obedience, yet you will earn the respect of those who place a high value on strength, persistence, and limits. Seneca, another famous Stoic philosopher with a profound comprehension of human nature with regard to the barriers that exist between people. It was him who said, "A man is not good because of the way he is treated, but because of the way he treats others." Not only does Seneca emphasize the significance of how you treat other people, but she also emphasizes the significance of how you allow other people to treat each other. You are able to exert influence over how other people view you when you maintain your position and do not allow others to walk all over you. At this point, people no longer consider you to be someone who is submissive or passive. You are someone who deserves to be respected. You are someone whose thoughts can be taken seriously, whose limits cannot be negotiated, and whose time is valuable. This change in how people view you has the potential to have a significant impact on the relationships you have. People start to understand that your charity is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a decision that you make. They are aware that respect is something that must be earned and may not be given freely without regard. Additionally, this change in dynamic results in a partnership that is both healthier and more balanced. It's possible that people will treat you with more care, more concern, and more respect, since they are aware that they can't take you for granted. It is not necessary for you to become aggressive or dominant as a result of this. Instead, it indicates that you need to demonstrate firmness in your interactions, demonstrating that you will not tolerate being treated like a doormat. As a result of your capacity to be nice but also keeping firm boundaries, people will respect you. This is the true definition of strength. When you refuse to let other people take advantage of your generosity, you start to earn respect from others around you. Additionally, despite the fact that the voyage may at times be unsettling, it is essential for your own personal development. You will notice that your position in the social ladder begins to shift once you begin to stand your ground, and at that point, people will begin to treat you with the respect that you deserve. Your integrity, your limits, and your strength will be appreciated by the people who genuinely matter to you in the long term. What about others who do not? You will be better off without them, since they will eventually disclose themselves to you. Number 5. The trap of people-pleasing. To try to win over people is a futile endeavor. Your efforts to make other people happy will result in a decrease in their respect for you. It is possible that at first you will feel as though you are on the right path. Not only do you want to be liked by others, but you also want to be helpful, and you want to be perceived as being kind and accommodating. On the other hand, what happens is that the more you give of yourself without taking into account your own requirements, the more you train other people to believe that your needs are irrelevant. Through your actions, you demonstrate to them that the comfort and approval of others takes precedence over your time, your energy, and your well-being. What is the end result? You are beginning to lose people's respect. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, explained it in a straightforward manner. No man is free who is not master of himself. When it comes to taking charge of your life, this remark perfectly captures the spirit of what it takes to do so. When you are constantly concerned about how other people perceive you, when you are living your life to please other people rather than living your life in accordance with your own ideas and principles, you are not actually free. You are a prisoner to their approval, and you are always modifying yourself to conform to what you believe they want from you. You end up being subject to their whims, their expectations, and their evaluations of you by that point. The reality is that trying to please other people is a type of self-sabotage. By making other people happy, you may give the impression that you are doing something positive. Nevertheless, in truth, you are diminishing your own sense of self-worth inside the process. Every time you give in without establishing a boundary, every time you sacrifice your own desires in order to satisfy the desires of another else, you are trying to convince yourself that you are not important. The lesson you are teaching yourself is that your emotions, your requirements, and your objectives are of less significance than those of another person. When you play this game more, you will end up losing more money. It could appear to be a method of gaining the favor of others in the short term, but over the course of time, people will start to anticipate that you will do it. As time goes on, they begin to view you more as a source of continuous validation than as someone who is deserving of mutual respect. As time goes on, they will eventually stop appreciating your generosity, since it will become a given. There is a toxic dynamic here. Your authenticity and your capacity to truly connect with other people are both diminished as a result of you engaging in this behavior. Your own voice, your own desires, and your own identity will become increasingly distant from you the more you strive to satisfy the needs and desires of everyone else. Instead of becoming who you genuinely are, you start becoming what other people want you to be more and more. The unpleasant truth is that trying to please everyone is not a sustainable strategy. Initially, it might be effective, but in the long run, you will become exhausted by it. You are going to develop feelings of resentment. You will also get the impression that you have lost yourself. You will come to the realization that the work you have put into making other people happy has come at the expense of your own happiness, your own peace of mind, and your own sense of self-worth. Again, Epictetus provides some sound advice in this regard. He informs us that the key to freedom is to have complete control over oneself. When you are unable to say no, when you are unable to put yourself first when it is required, and when you are unable to create boundaries, you are not living a free life. You are continuously molding yourself to conform to the expectations of other people and you are living your life in response to the requirements of other people. And what do you think? Some individuals will push back against you when you begin to put your own requirements first, when you start refusing to be taken for granted, when you start using the word no, and when you start demanding respect. They will push back against you. Because they preferred the version of you that was easy to influence, they will be upset with you. The version of you that was docile, people-pleasing, and could be relied upon without question for validation, support, and acceptance was something that they appreciated. On the other hand, this is a sacrifice that is required for your own personal development. The liberating thing is that when you stop trying to please everyone, better individuals will come into your life rather than the other way around. Those who value you, not for how far you can go out of your way to fulfill their requirements, but rather for who you are in your truest form. Those individuals who will admire you for your resilience, your genuineness, and your capacity to keep your own personality intact. It is not about being self-centered to establish limits. Rather, it is about showing respect for oneself. The protection of your tranquility, as well as your mental and emotional health, is the focus here. Additionally, despite the fact that some individuals may be resistant or leave, you will discover that the appropriate individuals, those who are actually deserving of your attention, will remain. They are going to respect you more as a result of the strength that you demonstrate in your decisions. Therefore, if you have been caught in the loop of trying to please other people, it is time to break out of that circle. Get started making yourself a priority. Your time and energy will be better protected if you begin to establish boundaries. Say no when it is necessary to do so. Let go of the folks who do not respect the boundaries you have set for yourself, because when you do that, you will find that the people who actually matter to you will respect you even more, and you will discover a new kind of freedom, freedom that comes from having mastery over yourself. Number 6. Why no is more powerful than yes. Because they are concerned about losing relationships, the majority of people are reluctant to say no. They have the misconception that if they decline invitations or requests, they will be damaging their ties or appearing self-centered. Nevertheless, here is the truth. A feeble yes only serves to make you forgettable. A resolute no will earn you respect from others. You are, in essence, acting as if you are saying no to yourself whenever you give your consent to anything that you do not genuinely desire to accomplish. For the sake of pleasing other people or avoiding disagreement, you are giving up your time, your peace of mind, and your fundamental requirements. One of the issues is that when you consistently respond with a yes, you become predictable. People will begin to anticipate it from you, and before long, your affirmative response will be useless. It is no longer a particular thing. Simply put, it is what people anticipate you will say. With each deal that you are compelled to make, you are losing your control. According to Marcus Aurelius, who is considered to be one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, it is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. This insightful statement emphasizes that the first step toward genuine life is having the guts to prioritize the things that are most important to you, such as your time, your tranquility, and your sense of who you are. In order to genuinely live, one must have the ability to establish limits and to refuse when it is required. When you say no, you are not being impolite or dismissive. Rather, you are showing that you value your own life and acknowledge that your requirements are important. It is an act of self-respect to decline an offer. In other words, it is a declaration that your time, your energy, and the commitments you have made are valuable. The act of declining something that does not correspond with your objectives or principles enables you to make place for the things that are actually important to you. Your self-worth is validated to the fullest extent possible by this. Although it is tempting to believe that saying yes all the time will make people like you more, it is also tempting to believe that it will somehow establish stronger ties. However, here is the reality. If you accept everything that comes your way, you will diminish your value. You turn into a people pleaser, which is a person who exists solely for the purpose of serving other people at the expense of their own happiness. Over time, this will result in feelings of resentment. As time goes on, you could start to feel as though you are being exploited, ignored, or even used. It is not that others will view you as someone who has valuable time. Rather, they will view you as someone who will always say yes, regardless of the circumstances. At this point, the level of respect begins to decrease. The strength of a firm refusal is something to consider now. An unmistakable message is conveyed when you decline an offer, particularly when it is in accordance with your principles and objectives. You value yourself. Your time is valuable to you. Your vitality is important to you. Additionally, you are not frightened to make choices that will safeguard those specific things. It demonstrates strength, confidence, and self-awareness to say no in a clear and forceful manner. Individuals start to respect you more as a result of the fact that they realize you have boundaries, which is a quality that distinguishes you as someone who should not be taken for granted. According to an old proverb, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. This is a very pertinent statement. This, in turn, is directly relevant to the idea of declining an offer. If you do not maintain a firm stance on your beliefs and your boundaries, you will find yourself agreeing to things that deplete you, cause you to get exhausted, and divert your attention away from what is fundamentally significant. In addition, when you live in such a manner, you are not actually living. You are simply existing for the purpose of pleasing other people, and as a result, you are forfeiting the opportunity to put your own happiness first. You will begin to attract people who respect you when you learn to say no. This is not because you always agree with them. Rather, it is because you are aware of who you are and what you believe in. By establishing limits, you ensure that the people who enter your life are those who appreciate you for the appropriate reasons. Strong people respect boundaries, and by setting them, you establish them. Therefore, I would like to ask you this question. How many times have you agreed to do something that you did not want to do in order to prevent disappointing someone else? How many times have you put the interest of maintaining peace ahead of your personal well-being in order to achieve that goal? Now is the moment to make that adjustment. Keep in mind that saying no does not mean that you are rejecting other people. It is a statement of confidence in yourself. However, the next time someone asks you to do anything that is not in line with your beliefs, you should not hesitate to comply with their request. Refuse to accept. In addition, by doing so, you will begin to live a life that is wholly and completely your own. Number 7. Kindness without confidence is weakness. A significant number of individuals are of the opinion that merely demonstrating kindness is sufficient to get respect and establish robust and wholesome relationships. The concept that kindness is one of the highest virtues is something that we are taught. The unpleasant reality, however, is that one act of kindness is not sufficient on its own. In his own words, Seneca stated, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Time is a valuable resource, and this profound sentence serves as a reminder of that fact. There is not a shortage of time in the world. Rather, it is that we frequently squander it on things and people that do not provide anything of value to our lives. Spending your time being kind without also having the self-assurance to safeguard your energy and be steadfast in your own views is, in effect, a waste of your time at the same time. However, when kindness is not accompanied with confidence, it can be used as a tool for exploitative purposes. People start to take your generosity for granted when you lack the strength to establish limits or say what you require of them. You wind up becoming the person who is always available, always agreeable, and always wanting to assist others, in spite of the fact that this comes at the expense of your own health and happiness. Although you are utilized, you are not fully respected. When you lack self-assurance, your kindness tends to become predictable. Think about it. At this point, it is no longer something exceptional. It's unquestionably a given. People no longer consider the acts of compassion you perform to be admirable. Rather, they start to anticipate them. Kindness that is not accompanied by confidence loses its potency, since acts of kindness are no longer a choice, but rather a duty. The weight that kindness previously carried is diminished when it is viewed as a duty, rather than a voluntary act. The fact that others are aware that you will always say yes, always help, and always provide makes them feel as though they do not need to express their gratitude. People respect strength, not obedience, and this is the underlying problem with this situation. In addition, when you are lacking in self-assurance, people will see your generosity as a sign of weakness, which indicates a lack of conviction in your own value. This dynamic results in a cycle that is extremely hazardous. It is possible that you are always willing to contribute to other people, but when you require anything in return, you discover that people are not willing to lend a helping hand. How come? Because they have been conditioned to view you as someone who is always giving and never demanding anything from you. Because of you, they now understand that your requirements are irrelevant. When it comes to respect, confidence is significantly more important than compassion. Attention is drawn to the individual who is both kind and firm, who is able to say no, and who is aware of when it is appropriate to stand their position. A lot of people are interested in that. When someone says, "I care, but I also care about myself," they are respected by others. This is the person who is able to establish themselves while still demonstrating compassion. The individual who possesses the power is that person. Relationships that are mutually beneficial and healthy can be developed by a person who possesses both power and kindness. From the other side of the coin, the person who is simply kind, who is always trying to please other people, and who is always putting the wants of others ahead of their own, eventually disappears away. As a result, they are ignored. How come? They have conditioned others to view them as a source of unending validation, and they have never demanded anything in exchange for their efforts. Over time, this will have a negative impact on your sense of self-worth. The value of your time, energy, and efforts is no longer recognized by other people. They begin to anticipate your generosity over time. This results in a decline in respect, which in turn leads to the accumulation of resentment. It is essential to have the understanding that compassion without confidence is not a great virtue. Rather, it is a formula for exhaustion rather than kindness. Kindness becomes more of a chore than a choice when there is a lack of self-assurance. It is not because you want to give that you give. Rather, you give because you feel compelled to. Furthermore, when you do something because you are required to, the meaning of that action is diminished. Your generosity is reduced to a commodity, and unlike commodities, commodities are not cherished. Rather, they are taken for granted. However, the dynamic shifts when you combine modesty and self-assurance. individuals begin to perceive you as someone who places a high priority on oneself. They come to realize that your generosity is not something they can rely on, and that this is something that you must sacrifice in order to maintain your own serenity. You've established a higher standard. It is not because you feel obligated to say yes. Rather, you say yes because you sincerely want to go through with it. People respect your decision to decline an offer because they are aware that you are not declining the offer out of malice. Rather, you are declining the offer in order to safeguard your time, your energy, and your boundaries at the same time. Having confidence enables you to take ownership of your generosity. It is possible to be nice, but it is equally possible to be firm. You have the ability to be generous with your time, but you also have the ability to provide yourself with some time. That you do not overextend yourself for the sake of other people, and that you are not scared to stand up for what is essential to you, are both important characteristics of someone who possesses confidence. Moreover, this is the essential component in gaining genuine respect. Being confident and being compassionate are not two things that you have to pick between. You have the ability to be both, and the combination exerts an incredible amount of power. They give because they choose to, because they are in charge of their time and energy, and because they are kind and confident. When you are kind and confident, you become someone who gives. Respect is earned via actions like these. Therefore, if you have been caught in the loop of being kind without having confidence, it is time for you to break out of that circle. Make an effort to demonstrate your value. Begin establishing limits and boundaries. It is important to learn to say no when it is required. It is important to be kind, but it is equally important to be strong in your kindness. Not only will you find that you respect yourself more when you combine these two characteristics, but you will also find that others respect you once you do so. Number 8. The fear of losing people. Fear is one of the most significant factors that contributes to people being overly polite and sacrificing their own wants. A fear of disagreement, a fear of disappointing other people, and a fear of being alone each other. Every single one of us has experienced that. We have all been guilty of avoiding saying no, continuing to overextend ourselves, or allowing others to take advantage of us simply because we were terrified of the consequences that could result from performing the opposite action. The concept that establishing boundaries could potentially result in tension or an argument is referred to as the fear of conflict. The assumption that if we don't constantly say yes, we'll let someone down or hurt their feelings is referred to as the fear of disappointing other people. The worry that if we cease trying to please other people, we will become isolated and no one would want to be near us is referred to as the dread of being alone. However, here is the harsh reality. If someone maintains their presence in your life solely for the purpose of taking advantage of your generosity, then it is clear that they were never worth keeping in the first place. Despite the fact that these individuals could provide you with brief companionship, they do not provide any genuine worth to your life. They do not respect your limits, and they do not appreciate you as a person. Rather, they see you as a chance to acquire what they want from you. When you begin to establish boundaries, and when you begin to say no, there will be withdrawal from certain individuals. It's possible that they are offended, and they may accuse you of being unkind or selfish, but here's the thing, it is not your problem. To begin with, those individuals who are angered by your boundaries did not respect you in the first place. It was clear that they did not consider you to be an equal, someone who had their own wants and demands. They regarded you as a resource, someone from whom they might draw inspiration. Moreover, the moment they realize that you are no longer that resource, they will leave. This, however, is not a loss. Rather, it is a gain. As Epictetus put it, freedom is the only objective in life that carries any value. Disregarding things that are beyond our control is the key to success in our endeavor. You will start to experience genuine freedom once you stop being concerned about the possibility of losing people who aren't making a significant contribution to your life in any way. You no longer allow yourself to be constrained by fear, by the desire for approval, or by the idea that you must continue to give in order to maintain relationships with other people. Instead, you begin to make room in your life for the people who respect you, not only for what you can do for them, but also for who you are as a person. When you stop trying to please other people, it's possible that some of them will become angry or hurt. "You've changed," or "you don't care about me anymore," are two such phrases that someone might use. On the other hand, the reality is that you have not changed. Rather, you have merely shifted your priorities. Because you have made the decision to take charge of your own life, you have decided to stop letting other people determine your level of happiness and your value. It is of the utmost importance to comprehend that letting go of unhealthy relationships, whether they are friendships, family dynamics, or sexual relationships, is not a sign of failure. It's a demonstration of self-love and respect for oneself. The individuals who truly care about you will recognize that your boundaries are an integral part of who you are, and they will respect those boundaries without question. Everyone who doesn't will leave, and that's perfectly fine with me. That is, in point of fact, a blessing. Better individuals are on their way. Accepting this reality is one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself. When you make room in your life for the people who truly value you, they will eventually make their way into your life. Those individuals are those who respect your time, your energy, and the boundaries you set for yourself. In addition to the fact that they will give as much as they take, the presence of this person in your life will be mutually beneficial. Nevertheless, you must be willing to let go of the people who do not treat you with respect in order to go on. Because you are terrified of being alone, it is tempting to continue to be in relationships that are draining on you personally. To be surrounded by people who do not appreciate you is the worst thing in the world, but being alone is not the worst thing in the world alone. At the end of the day, you will discover that quality is always superior to quantity in terms of relationships. It is preferable to have a small group of people who actually respect you and bring value to your life, as opposed to a large collection of individuals who only take from you that you deserve. You will make room for the people who actually see you, appreciate you, and respect you for who you are, not simply for what you can do for them. Once you make the decision to let go of the fear of losing people, therefore, keep in mind that you should let them go. In no way is it a loss. It is the beginning of a new chapter in your life, one in which you are free to be yourself, without fear, and without the pressure of trying to prove that you are pleasant to other people. In the event that you make place for the appropriate individuals, they will find their way to you. Number 9. The secret of selective kindness. When you treat the appropriate people with kindness, you will gain true power. The fact of the matter is that generosity is a valuable currency, and just like any other type of money, it ought to be spent in a prudent manner. While it is simple to get into the trap of being overly generous with your time, energy, and compassion, it is also simple to fall into the trap of thinking that kindness is intrinsically virtuous and that it ought to be offered without prejudice. What happens, however, when you give an excessive amount of money to the wrong people? Respect is lost on you. The practice of selective kindness involves making deliberate choices regarding the areas in which you choose to devote your emotional energy and goodwill. You make it simpler for other people to take advantage of you when you are kind to everyone, without giving it any thought beforehand. Nevertheless, if you are aware of who is the recipient of your compassion, you may make certain that it is treasured rather than exploited. This is the essential formula that must be followed. Extend your generosity to individuals who hold you in high regard. Those that are kind to you should be kind to you. To those who do not, maintain a firm stance. When you demonstrate compassion to others who have showed respect and appreciation for it, you are demonstrating that respect and appreciation for yourself. Your efforts will be appreciated by these individuals, and they will return the favor in ways that are significant. Despite the fact that this does not imply that you are required to anticipate receiving something material in return, you can anticipate receiving reciprocal respect, which is what makes relationships truly satisfying. It is important to note, however, that showing kindness to someone who does not appreciate it is not compassion. Rather, it is self-sacrifice. When you do this, you are giving someone permission to cheat you. In this area, the Stoics possessed a considerable deal of knowledge. In his writings, Seneca cautioned against providing an excessive amount of one's resources without obtaining anything in return, pointing out that a gift that costs nothing to the giver is worthless to the receiver. You are not only weakening your own position when you consistently provide compassion to those who do not reciprocate, but you are also encouraging a dynamic of entitlement in the process. It is possible that these individuals will grow to regard your generosity as something that they are entitled to, and before you realize it, your generosity will no longer be appreciated, but rather anticipated. At this point, kindness transforms into a sign of weakness. However, you can avoid falling into this trap by carefully selecting the recipients of your acts of kindness. There is a powerful force that can establish deeper friendships, and that force is kindness with boundaries. The person who is respected, the one who commands attention and adoration, is the one who is compassionate and firm throughout their interactions with others. On the other hand, a kind person who allows themselves to be trodden over is frequently neglected. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius expressed it in the following manner: "If you want to avoid wasting time, stop fighting over what a good man ought to be. Become one." You need to engage in the practice of selective kindness if you want to be a person of integrity and self-respect. Stop giving without discrimination and stop trying to impress other people. In its place, you should direct your generosity toward people who appreciate it, toward those who have shown that they recognize your value and who are willing to return your efforts. When you do this, your generosity transforms into something powerful, something that develops the relationship rather than something that depletes you. Have a hard stance with those individuals who do not respect you. This does not mean that you are required to be impolite or unpleasant. Rather, it just means that you discontinue tolerating disrespect. You prevent yourself from enabling behaviors that leave you feeling exhausted and unappreciated, and you establish clear limits for yourself. Not only is it an act of self-preservation, but it is also an act of self-respect to establish or maintain limits. When you set an example for others to follow by respecting yourself, you are leading by example. The true challenge is to realize that a gesture of goodwill that is devoid of confidence is a completely meaningless act. When there are no boundaries in place, people may misinterpret your generosity as a sign of weakness. On the other hand, when you mix assertiveness and kindness, you produce a powerful combination that compels respect and admiration from others. People will start to value your time and energy because they are aware that it is not something that can be thrown away easily. When you do this, you transform into someone who is not just kind, but also valued. Being attentive of where you focus your energy and who you invest in is an essential component of the concept of selective kindness. The people in your life that value you the most are those who do so not because of what you can provide for them, but rather because they recognize your value as a person. Moreover, those are the individuals that are deserving of your generosity. You may safeguard your own sense of self-worth by being deliberate about the manner in which you do so, and the recipients of your generosity. In addition to avoiding falling into the trap of giving to individuals who do not value your generosity, you do not allow other people to exploit your generosity. You, on the other hand, transform your generosity into a valuable commodity, something that is highly valued by people who are significant. And in the end, this is the true secret to kindness. It is not about being pleasant to everyone the entire time. What is important is that you have the wisdom to recognize who is deserving of your generosity and who is not. You are not only protecting your own well-being when you do this, but you are also building relationships that are founded on genuine connection and reciprocal respect for one another. And this is the kind of compassionate behavior that can never be misconstrued as a sign of weakness. Number 10. Strength and kindness, the ultimate combination. Having a kind disposition is not the issue. There is weakness. The notion that being kind is linked with being submissive or meek is something that we are taught far too frequently. But when it is founded on genuine strength, kindness becomes a formidable power that must be taken into consideration. When you give without limitations and without acknowledging your own worth, you are committing the problem of kindness being misunderstood with submissiveness. People will start to take advantage of your kindness at that point, and respect will begin to erode. Kindness, the truth of the matter, calls for an extraordinary amount of strength. In a world that can make one feel apathetic at times, it takes a lot of strength to remain empathetic. However, the most influential people in history, those who acquired and maintained the highest levels of respect, were aware of the fact that kindness and strength are inextricably linked. The strength of the other is diminished when the first is absent. Here are some of the most influential Stoic philosophers, including Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Not only were they examples of kindness, but they were also examples of strength because of their actions. They were unwavering in their convictions. They lived their lives in accordance with their principles, and they did not shy away from taking a consistent stance. Not because they were motivated by a desire to make other people happy, but rather because they had a profound awareness of the value that they brought to the world. One of the most revered Roman emperors and Stoic thinkers, Marcus Aurelius, has a profound capacity for compassion, but his compassion was not without its ability to be powerful. As a leader, he believed in setting an example for others to follow and never surrendering his convictions. His meditations were filled with numerous passages in which he discussed the significance of preserving a robust inner character, including the following: "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When it comes to the connection between kindness and strength, this deep sentence says much. The true definition of strength is not the ability to fight back with force. Rather, it is the ability to keep your integrity intact. When you are aware that being kind is the appropriate action to take, it is important to choose kindness. However, it is also important to refuse to tolerate disrespect. Kindness enables you to say yes with honesty and without harboring any bitterness, and strength enables you to say no when it is important to do so. The need of self-mastery was frequently emphasized in Seneca's letters, which he wrote as another Stoic philosopher. The key to living a virtuous life, according to his argument, is not to be submissive or meek. Rather, it is to be in command of your feelings, actions, and choices. Because kindness that is devoid of self-control and confidence is not compassion. Rather, it is a sign of weakness. He emphasized that self-respect is a result of knowing when to be nice and when to stand firm. The words of Seneca: "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." In light of this, it is essential to make efficient use of your time, not on individuals who do not appreciate your generosity, but rather on relationships that are characterized by mutual respect. The message he is trying to convey is crystal clear. You should not waste your time trying to please individuals who take advantage of your goodwill. Your energy should be directed toward those who appreciate you and are kind to you in return. During his time as a slave, Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, highlighted the significance of being comfortable with one's own identity and avoiding allowing the opinions of others to influence one's actions. Strengthening your mind, establishing boundaries, and gaining control over your feelings are the hallmarks of his teachings. He emphasized that it is possible to be nice, but that it should not come at the expense of one's own health and happiness. In a famous quote, he said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." From a practical standpoint, what does this imply? This indicates that true freedom is achieved when one is able to exercise control over their activities, when they determine the extent to which they are prepared to share aspects of themselves with other people, and when they acknowledge that they do not require the approval of others in order to be useful. In every facet of life, the qualities of power and kindness are complementary to one another. People are aware that they cannot take advantage of you when you are kind while maintaining your firmness. Because they will know that your generosity originates from a place of self-respect rather than desperation, they will begin to respect you more. The calm, unwavering strength that commands respect is a sort of power that does not require you to shout or proclaim dominance. It is a form of power that is respected. Having the ability to combine strength with kindness is a wonderful thing because it eliminates the need to choose between the two. There is no requirement that you give up one in order to obtain the other. As a matter of fact, one complements the other. In contrast, compassion without strength can result in self-sacrifice and exploitation, while power without kindness can lead to hubris or brutality. Individuals who are able to maintain their integrity while simultaneously demonstrating compassion for others are the most influential and respected. Strength is the armor that protects compassion, which is a gift in life. Compassion is a gift. You can be generous with your time, energy, and compassion by combining the two, and at the same time, you can make sure that you are never taken advantage of either way. Understanding your value, establishing boundaries, and extending compassion exclusively to those who place the same importance on it as you do are all important aspects of this. You will no longer feel the need to beg for respect after you have mastered the skill of balancing kindness and strength. Instead, it will come unintentionally from other people who recognize that you are a person who possesses integrity, confidence, and real compassion with genuine compassion. You will develop into someone who is able to offer without hesitation, but who is also able to withdraw when it is required of them, someone who does not allow the global community to take advantage of their generosity. In addition, this, my dear friends, is the most powerful type of existence. This precarious equilibrium was something that the Stoics were aware of, and it is something that has the potential to also affect your own life. It is not true that strength and kindness are polar opposites. Rather, they are two sides of the same coin. They lay the groundwork for a life that is not just moral, but also fulfilling when they are brought together. Therefore, it is to your advantage to embrace both, because doing so will allow you to acquire the respect and admiration of others, while simultaneously protecting your own integrity and sense of self-worth. The world is in need of the kindness. On the other hand, kindness without strength opens the door to disrespect. Do not stop being kind to others. Just quit being generous to yourself at the expense of others. Establish clear limits. Use your voice. Respect yourself first and foremost. And if you found that this video helped you see things differently, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the like button, and share this with someone who could benefit from hearing it. When we meet again, I'll be waiting for you. Keep your strength.